Can I just start off with a hot take? I don't think there's any point talking about sensors. Both wired and wireless mice nowadays have come with sensors that are so good that they're well beyond any human capability of control. So there's really no point. I'm just going to put up the specs over here, which you can look up on the website itself. And in my few days of gaming with this, I had no issues whatsoever. Fast snapping from left to right, no sensor stalls, none whatsoever. So really what makes or breaks a mouse these days is design, build quality, and ergonomics, and maybe features. So let's start with build quality. This is a perfectly well-built mouse. There's no sign of flex anywhere. All the buttons, they move only in the directions they should move. Definitely a well-made mouse. Which brings us to design and ergonomics. Now, when it comes to design, this is obviously a right-handed mouse, as is evidenced by those two side buttons on the left-hand side, and also by the curvature of the mouse from the left to the right. Now, because it slopes in that direction, your right hand goes on top and then curves off a bit to one side, which is more ergonomic and more natural in its pronation. Also, an interesting design feature is this flare out at the hip here. This actually is one of the reasons I bought this mouse. See, the problem with the mice I'm using right now, both the G Pro X Superlight as well as this Razer Basilisk X Hyperspeed, fascinating little mouse, $40, awesome, review coming soon by the way, is that while they are reasonably ergonomic in different ways, this one I particularly like, they're all very narrow and I have slightly wider hands. What that means is over longer gaming sessions, I found the right side of my palm to go unsupported. It ends up just sort of hanging over like so and brushing against my cloth mouse pad, which is a little bit unpleasant. I wanted something that will alleviate that, and to my delight, the Xlite Wireless does just that. Now, there are two kinds of grips that I use. I use a whole palm grip when I'm just using the computer normally or editing, and when I'm gaming, I use kind of a hybrid palm cum fingertip grip. For both of these grips, I found this to be really useful. When you're palming this device, your hand goes like so, and the peak of the hump over here actually coincides with your knuckle. That's the part that it pushes up. I usually like mice that have that bit over there further off to the back, so it nestles in this part of my palm. So I had to readjust a bit, but it's still very comfortable. When you do that, the sensor pretty much aligns up with that peak of the hump and aligns with your knuckle. And as a result of that little flaring at the hip of the mouse over there, I find this part of my palm being supported quite nicely and not grazing my mouse pad, which is exactly what I wanted. Now, when I fingertip grip it, the peak of the hump as well as the sensor lines up with this first knuckle over here. And what that does is make this mouse really well suited to the fingertip grip. This curve seems to complement the curve of your fingers just right, or at least in my case it does. Plus, that little flare, once again, gives my little pinky just enough support that it doesn't feel like it's dragging or it doesn't feel unsupported. That combined with the fact that this is really light, it's about 60 grams, makes an ergonomic difference in this case. A couple of other things they've done. The side buttons, they are well positioned and just the right size that I didn't have to ever try and find them in the heat of a battle. They were always exactly where I expected them to be. Now, you'll notice they've changed something from version 1 of this mouse. They've actually made the sides on both sides non-perforated. What this means that everywhere your fingers go, pretty much the buttons as well as either side is now solid plastic, which to me is a lot nicer to hold because I mean, we're gamers, we get a little sweaty sometimes, and in the heat of battle, in the heat of the moment, we tend to grip our mice a little bit hard. And if you've got grating all around, that kind of digs into your skin. It's not the most pleasant feeling. So I really like the way they've changed the Xlite Wireless here. Another thing of note is the finish. Put it this way, it's just matte enough that when you hold this, you don't immediately think to yourself that you need to go buy grip tape. And that's a good thing because if you're spending $70 to $80 on a device, you don't want to spend another $10, $15 on grip tape. This should be enough, and it is. And that brings me to the only con of this device. Now, if you are a claw grip user, I'm not usually one, but when I tried to be, it just didn't work. This slope at the back, it tends to be far too slippery. It doesn't give any support to the back of the palm, and it doesn't allow me to grip it firmly using a claw grip. And that's the only downside. I think this mouse works really well for a fingertip grip, pretty well for a palm grip and a hybrid fingertip cum palm grip, but it doesn't work that well for a claw grip, at least for small to medium hands. Now when it comes to the features, you'll notice that it's a pretty basic design. It's a 5-button mouse. You got 2 buttons here, 3 buttons on top, and that's it. Well, there is one more button at the back to switch on or off the mouse, which is quite useful if you're traveling. If you're not, and if you just happen to leave the mouse laying around, after a little bit of inactivity, it does shut off to save battery. But if you wanted to switch your DPI, it doesn't seem like there's a way to do it on the fly. There's actually one way to do it, but even that takes time. Basically, you hold the left mouse button, the side button, and the mouse wheel button down for 4 seconds and it changes your DPI. It cycles through them. You can also change the polling rate by using the right mouse button instead, with the rear button and the middle button together. Now, if that's not enough, that's okay. It comes with an app that unlocks a whole bunch of features. The app that comes with this is actually quite robust. Allows you to change your DPI, allows you to change the number of DPI presets, allows you to bind your DPI switching to your middle button if you want. So you can have on-the-fly mouse DPI switching if you wanted, unlike the G Pro X Superlight. Aha! Now the app actually does a couple of other cool things. It allows you to change the lift-off distance from 1mm to 2mm if that's of interest to you. It also allows you to change the debounce time, which probably helps you in drag clicking or really fast click spamming. I don't know what the kids do in Minecraft these days, but it might help, is all I'm saying. What's interesting, it also allows you to change a couple of other features like ripple control and angle snapping. If while gaming you use higher sensitivity, then you can use these to sort of smoothen out your movements and make it less jittery. I don't know if people actually use these, but if you do, it's there. Now there is an LED at the bottom that'll tell you your DPI setting, and it'll also tell you your battery charge status when you plug it in. And it actually shines through the top to give you a little bit of that RGB action, because gamer, and you can set it to breathe if you want, because again, gamer. Now, one other cool thing about this mouse though is that it comes with its own cable, which much to my delight is also red. And my god, this is a nice cable. This has got to be some of the softest, most supple, most flexible corded cables that I have ever used. I can confidently say that you could use this mouse wired, and using this cable, you'd feel barely any cable drag, if at all. But really, there's another reason for including this cable, and that is to increase the range. See, if you're using the wireless dongle like I am, then the range is supposed to be 2 meters. Most people game within 2 meters of their PC anyway, but what if you had a living room setup? You had a little gaming PC connected to your TV and you're sitting back on your couch. That's got to be more than 2 meters in many cases. That's where this guy comes in. One end of the cable goes into your PC, the USB-C side goes into this little addition, also red and black because of course. Bluetooth dongle goes into the other end like so, and boom, you've got an extender. And that is pretty much it. The question now is, will it replace my G Pro X Superlight? Well, I've got a couple of thoughts on that. Number one, as far as ergonomics is concerned, for my style of playing and for my grip of playing, yeah, this does feel a little more comfortable. Although I kind of want a combination of this flare over here, along with that hump being towards the back end of the device, just so I have support over here in my palm. It just feels nicer to me. I don't know, maybe the search will continue, but right now this thing is really, really good. The one reason why it might not replace my Superlight is the lack of any place to hold the dongle. See, I travel a lot, and when I'm traveling, I carry my laptop and a gaming mouse because I like to game on the move. The G Pro X Superlight has been very nicely engineered to have this little pocket over here where you can put your dongle, nice little magnetic cover. It's really thoughtfully made. The good folks at Pulsar, I don't think had thought of that use case. Most people probably don't carry their gaming mice around everywhere like I do, but for that reason alone, I think my Logitech Superlight will still travel with me. But for home usage, I am enjoying the heck out of this thing. I think this is definitely worth $70. I wish it had a place to keep the dongle, and I wish, if I'm nitpicking, the buttons were maybe a little bit better. A little easier to press would be nice. There's a little more actuation force than I would have liked. And these side buttons, they feel a little bit hollow. But other than that, this is a brilliant mouse for $70. Rock solid wireless performance, brilliant cable, and it looks gorgeous. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got some gaming to do. So till next time, stay happy, stay peaceful, stay colorful. Namaste.